Hey there! So today we're going to be responding to an atheist video. Now, this is a response of an individual, me, who who is, as a result of being a regular participant in Satanic Temple UK chapter events, has a better understanding of what Satanic Temple is than most people do. But this is not an official response from Satanic Temple, and I do not speak for them at all. I merely speak for myself. So, let's get going.
Since I became an atheist about 6 years ago and started talking about my story and experiences online, one of the most common accusations I've received on a fairly regular basis is that I am a Satanist, a devil worshiper, and that I just wanted to live a life of sin and follow my father the devil. These accusations.
So I've been an atheist my whole life as well, and I've told people I'm an atheist. I'm sure I've spoken to some priests and stuff and said don't really believe in God. Their immediate inclination wasn't to immediately leap to, you must be a Satanist then. What their immediate inclination was to leap to was, why not? Yeah. I think that maybe they're just the setup for the. I think this is just an introduction for the video.
Don't just come from crazy Bible code conspiracy nuts who see Monster energy drinks as satanic.
Look at your M closely. There's a gap right here in the letter M. It's never connected. So you go into Hebrew. The letter V.
I love this Monster energy drink woman. I think she is hilarious. It's interesting what they can pull from, because obviously it's not true, but they could twist all of these various things that are clearly completely innocuous, but twist them into being something that as part of some kind of conspiracy. So you can sort of see that if you're a vulnerable person who was susceptible to these kind of insane ideas, how it could actually be quite convincing.
Is also the number 6. Short top, long tail. Short top, long tail. You could have here in Hebrew 666 on the can.
These accusations that I am a Satanist.
I do wonder if she's just being totally disingenuous, and it's really just a kind of a power and control thing, or whether she actually really believes that Monster energy drinks are being created by the devil or whatever like this.
Come from normal, everyday Christians, and as far as I know, some of my family might even think this.
No, like I said, normal, everyday Christians want you to become a Christian.
Really
they don't
easy
immediately
to
turn
just
into, you must be a Satanist!
Dismiss it and respond with a meme like, if I don't believe in your Sky Daddy, what makes you think that I believe in your basement troll?
I'm enjoying that. That's a good meme. See, atheists and Satanists have stuff in common. You know, we can enjoy the same memes. Anyway.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes my frustration with this kind of repeated accusation gets the better of me, and I do fall to that level and retort accordingly. But I don't think that it's the most productive response, and I want to take a little bit of time to unpack my full answer. Why am I really not a Satanist? Well, find out right after this.
He's got fancy animations, I know. He's got fancy animations. I need these fancy animations.
The ironic thing about Satanists is that actual devil worshippers who genuinely believe in Satan from the Bible, almost without exception, aren't atheists. Because if you believe that the bad guy from the Bible exists, you probably believe that the good guy exists too.
You know, one of Church of Satan's favorite things to do on Twitter is to go, you know, somebody will say, what do you call people who actually worship the devil then if you don't worship the devil? And they go, Christians. I'm sure it's original for your audience, but, you know, Satanists have already been saying this.
Although you might disagree on which one is good and which is evil. Even Christians know this intuitively and will quote verses like James 2:19. You believe that there's one God? Good, even demons believe that and shudder. But these Christians will follow their accusations with things like, you're not really an atheist. You know deep down in your heart that God exists. You're just rebelling because you hate God. It's like they have this false dichotomy of you can either be a God-loving Christian or a God-hating Satanist, but are oblivious to the fact that some of us just really don't believe in either.
Agreed.
I'm a naturalist. I don't believe in anything supernatural or paranormal.
Agreed.
I think it's utterly unsubstantiated nonsense. And it's not like I haven't put myself out there. The one time that I tried a Ouija board, the one time that I tried a Ouija board, the planchette literally just sat there.
Maybe you would subconsciously kind of spell some stuff out that might tap into something that, you know, that's kind of buried in your subconscious. So I think they could actually be useful to a certain extent, even though you're not actually contacting the supernatural. But that would be kind of that's the kind of nuanced understanding that I think maybe a lot of atheists would kind of struggle with. I think that they just dismiss it out of hand as supernatural, as supernatural rubbish.
I spent the night in an allegedly demon-possessed cabin. Nothing happened, and I slept like a rock. I've been to at least one haunted prison and multiple haunted houses, and even went to a cemetery in Mexico at midnight on the Day of the Dead.
Awesome!
See all the ghost orbs?
I see all the bugs floating in front of my camera.
The bug ghosts?
Wow, you sound like a fun traveling companion.
Literally every one of those experiences was super chill and unremarkable.
It's Mexican Day of the Dead. You went to haunted houses and stuff. How is that unremarkable? Oh my God. What boring life this guy must lead.
But before I rule out Satanism entirely, I could technically be a Satanist and believe in the symbolism of rebellion against oppressive authority while simultaneously not believing in God or the devil.
We're not what you think we are.
There are Satanists who, like me, don't believe in God or Satan. Like, at all. Whether it's the Levian Church of Satan founded in 1966 and its various offshoots, or the more modern Satanic Temple founded by Lucien Greaves.
So he's probably going to get most of his information from the documentary here, and maybe, you know, I know he's probably Googled it a bit as well.
Both tend to see
Let's
Satan as more of a symbol of defiance, specifically against the more backwards aspects of Judeo-Christian religions.
We're not theistic, so we don't believe in a personal Satan, but it's still deeply meaningful to us, having grown up in Judaism.
So this is a really good interview that Lucien did when he came to the UK. He appeared on Breakfast Television on one of our main real channels. There's a program called Good Morning Britain, which is normally hosted by Piers Morgan. And I would have loved to see Lucien take down Piers, but unfortunately Piers wasn't on that day. So I'm going to put a link to the interview in this video because it's like a really good interview. That's a really good summation of Satanic Temple and modern Satanism as a whole.
Judeo-Christian culture, and this kind of socio-political counter myth resonates for us in a way that's unique. Some of us came out of superstition ourselves and found it very liberating to be able to embrace the blasphemous, not just to offend other people, but to be liberated from superstition ourselves.
It can be a powerful and incredibly useful symbol, especially when fighting for the separation of church and state. For example, when Arkansas erected...
It is useful and it's powerful to us as individuals in terms of understanding ourselves and our own lives and our place in the world. That's what it's especially meaningful for. And then there's the activism.
Did a giant Ten Commandments monument outside of the state capitol? Many non-Christians felt that this was a breach of the separation of church and state. An Arkansas representative responded that they're not giving special favors to any particular religion because other religions were welcome to place their monuments there too. And they didn't expect a giant satanic statue of Baphomet to come rolling into their town to take them up on the offer. And in another case...
What's interesting is that... as you will discover in this book, if you get it, I thoroughly recommend it, Speak of the Devil. One of the things that Joe Laycock talks about, and by the way, Joe Laycock is not a member of the Satanic Temple. He does not identify as a Satanist, but he spent a lot of time with Satanic Temple and realized that we are a real religion and we are valid, thanks. That Ten Commandments monument, in reality, the actual case that got it taken down was raised not by Satanic Temple, but by a Christian pastor. Yes, that's right, a Christian got the Ten Commandments monument taken down, because guess what? Not all Christians are bad. TST turning up with the statue didn't exist in a vacuum. It existed within the wider context of the debate over the Ten Commandments monument. So it's not to say that TST didn't play a very important role in getting it taken down.
When Oklahoma City fearfully refused to allow the statue next to their Ten Commandments monument, the case went all the way to the state Supreme Court, where the Ten Commandments were ordered taken down because they violated the First Amendment requirement for state governments to stay neutral on religious matters. So if I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God or Satan, I oppose pseudoscientific and socially harmful religious ideas, and I myself am rather defiant against the more backwards aspects of Judeo-Christian religions, as this channel has demonstrated, why do I not identify as a Satanist? Well, for starters, I don't really care for any kind of organized religion.
I actually have a very good friend of mine who basically, that was literally what she said. She was just like, organized religion, ew, which, you know, it's fair enough. This is that Satanists don't recruit. So I'm not going to sit there and try and convince you to become a Satanist. You come to us.
Let's take a look at the values of Levian Satanism first, and then we'll examine the Satanic Temple.
Oh God, he's gonna.
Tom
Let's
LaVey
look at what
founded
Church
the
of Satan
He
thinks.
wrote out 11 core tenets in his Satanic Bible. The fact that there even are tenets kind of rubs me the wrong way. Sure, we need laws for society to operate smoothly, but those laws are amended over time.
No one ever said the 9 satanic statements were meant to go into law. Both Church of Satan and Satanic Temple believe in separation of church and state. This isn't like Islam in the Middle East, where they have, in some countries, they have Sharia courts based on Sharia law or whatever. You know, I mean, this is, you know, these are for individuals to live by. These are not for to be enacted on a state level. Okay.
While religious laws tend to be a little more dogmatic, most of the moral frameworks from centuries ago are seen as backwards and often barbaric by today's standards, because our morality evolves and improves as society progresses. We should be debating and improving our ethical frameworks through moral philosophy at a global scale conversation, not etching them in stone in dogmatic fashion. But let's take a look at them. Do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. Well, that's a stupid rule. Don't tell me what I can and can't say.
Do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. Yeah, that's stupid. He's right. You're right. I agree.
Do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure that they want to hear them.
Do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. Well, you know, how do I even know that? You know, and a proper friend will want to hear it. You know, this is totally just no.
When in another's lair, show him respect or else do not go there. A lair? What are we, goblins? If a guest in your lair...
It's a metaphor, and it's kind of fun, you know. I'd have to call this my lair. I think it's fun to call the place. God, atheists are such fucking killjoys.
Annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. Or how about be a bigger person and don't stoop to their level?
Agreed.
Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering you're such a misogynist, I'm glad LeVay put that in there.
It's hard not to feel deflated when even your best isn't good
No, LeVay was talking in quite a polemical kind of entertaining way. I mean, you know.
enough.
Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and he cries out to be relieved.
I think I agree with that.
Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained.
Now, let's see what the atheist thinks about this. Let's see if he actually understands what LeVay meant by magic. Let's see.
Yeah, that's straight up supernatural hogwash right there.
Disappointing. You know, he didn't do his research. Anyway, did he even read the Satanic Bible by doing this? I don't think he did. Anyway.
Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. Do not harm little children.
Do not complain about anything which you need not subject yourself. Do not harm little children. I don't think those are so bad.
Do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for your food. When walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, destroy him. Like, this whole series feels like it was written by a troglodyte with the IQ of a potato trying desperately to be edgy.
So I think you should perhaps sit and reconsider this. I think you need to pause a little bit and actually do a little bit more research on this. Oh God, I sound like a COS commentator. Clearly hasn't bothered to really study LeVay. LeVay was not Oscar Wilde. He was not Gandhi, but he's still a very remarkable man, and much more remarkable than me, and certainly much more remarkable than this guy. You'd be surprised how many Satanic Temple Satanists, you know, LeVay is kind of a bit of a granddad figure, because a lot of Satanic Temple Satanists, before Satanic Temple was around, LeVay was kind of the default, you know, representation of Satanism, wasn't he? So a lot of them will kind of have a little bit, perhaps a little bit more of a nuanced understanding of LeVay than, you know, people like this.
Compared to the Church of Satan, the tenets of the Satanic Temple are significantly better. And as I understand it, they were made incredibly vague deliberately so they can apply to a wide swath of circumstances across time. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Sure.
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Okay, in theory, but who determines what's just and not? On its own, this is incredibly incomplete, and without guidance tends towards anarchy.
If he dug a bit deeper, he would have seen Satanic Temple does actually give specific guidelines on how to do activism, as and when we do actually do it. Kind of the foundational tenets is not the place to have some huge elaboration on exactly how it's going to work. So I don't think that's a very fair comment.
One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. Good. The 10 Commandments could have used a clause like this, or at least said, don't get rapey. Now, one caveat, perhaps I'm misreading it, but what about scenarios where someone is a menace to society and needs to be locked up for crimes against humanity?
I think it was literally internal about, you know, like basically about abortion, body modifications, transgender people being able to get the surgery that they need around it, rather than external things like don't put my body in prison. So I think justice would definitely, the second tenet, the justice tenet, would definitely prevail over that. The tenets should not be seen in isolation, but seen as a complete package.
The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. I guess for the most part I agree with this. Belief should conform to one.
We skipped over the most controversial tenet there, the free speech tenet. So he's probably quite centrist. I don't know, I'm getting a real whiff of centrism. So that's probably why he probably believes in, in debating everything, which anyway, that's a subject for another day.
One's best scientific understanding of the world, one should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. Again, this one is great in theory, but is a bit naive when it comes to cognitive psychology. Most people, including flat earthers and young earth creationists, genuinely think that their beliefs are conforming to the best scientific understanding of the world. They just suffer from logical fallacies and self-delusions like falling prey to confirmation bias and the backfire effect.
That's an interesting point about the fifth tenet. I suppose you would need, if you are some insane flat earther, I suppose you do believe that the science is correct.
People are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. I actually really like this last one because it helps safeguard against these principles being used dogmatically. On the face of it, most of these are fine. Even if you're a Christian, Muslim, or Jew, if you heard any of these tenets on its own without realizing that they were from the Satanic Temple, you'd probably have no issue with them whatsoever. But while I don't have any serious objections to these principles, and I respect the political spectacles the Satanic Temple engages in to advocate for religious equality, here's why I gravitate away from the Satanic Temple. They love spectacle. They love flair and have a knack for the theatric, going over the top with symbolic ceremonies involving satanic symbols, blood, fire, and nudity, representing a cognitive and sexual liberation from archaic repressive ideas. While they don't believe in a literal devil, they intentionally go over the top and reach for the shock value because they know.
No, absolutely not. This is where we're going wrong, okay? He was doing so well. He wasn't doing that well. It's about us, our personal liberation. It's not about other people. You're clearly getting all of your information from media reports. The information available to people as to what Satanists do is what's reported by the media. And what's reported by the media is external events. So they only see the events where they are actually designed for other people to see them. And so that becomes the summation, whereas the vast majority of Satanic Temple activities are internal events, are private events for ourselves. So that in of itself shows that it's not about shocking other people. It's about, because it's very meaningful to us.
That Christians are terrified of Satan, a long-fanged.
This isn't about Christians. This isn't about upsetting Christians. I mean, it's just, oh God. I don't give a shit what Christians think. It's because a lot of us have, a lot of people have, because we grew up in a Judeo-Christian culture, a lot of us have really been affected by that Judeo-Christian culture. It's not about Christians themselves as individuals.
Enemy who prowls about like a roaring lion waiting to devour you. Hell, when I was a Christian, I was scared to death of the devil. The mere thought of Satan striking fear into the hearts of believers can be a powerful political tool, but my goal isn't to terrify. It's to connect. And while satanic imagery is shocking, it doesn't bring people closer together. It kind of shuts them off and throws up walls. Now, I don't fear.
If you don't think Satanism brings people together, then you should really hang out with a Satanic Temple chapter sometime, because trust me, the community building, what is at the heart of Satanic Temple is community building.
Devil or hell any longer, but at least for now, I don't really have any need for picking up this mantle and adopting this approach. For too long, atheism has been considered a dirty word in a largely religious world where it bears negative connotations with either communism or Satanism. But I'm neither a communist nor a Satanist. I just don't believe in God. I'm a humanist. I care about humanity, human rights, and equality. I love technology and progress, and I think that we can all work together to make this shared world better. But when it comes right down to it, I'm just a normal guy, the kind of person you'd bump into at a museum or sit across from in the library, who you might go up against in bar trivia or grapple with at a martial arts tournament. I vote and pay my taxes. I don't dress provocatively.
Satanists do all these things as well. We vote and we go to the supermarket and stuff. I mean, I don't go to the satanic grocery store and order my dead babies, you know, for dinner, you know.
I don't dress provocatively. Well, I don't usually. And I work way too hard to drink anything but socially. And while I did actually legally smoke pot in California with the founder of the Satanic Temple once, I don't ever do hard drugs, although I don't judge people who do.
Okay, this is something that really pisses me off. Why are you talking about drugs? It's like, what have drugs got to do with anything? I don't know what the fuck has given people the impression that Satanists are some kind of drug addicts. I mean, it's really not a very helpful association. Thank you very much.
I rarely cuss on my channel, and I don't even have any tattoos or piercings. My goal
You don't have to look like a goth to be a Satanist.
is to reach people. And if Satanism comes coupled with all of the baggage of the satanic panic and people's ideas of what it means based off of their religion, if it comes coupled with ideas and notions, false or not, of satanic ritual abuse, then those ideas are simply a hurdle and a stumbling block to get in the way of me being able to connect with people about stuff I'm passionate about, like science and how the world actually works and how we can tell if something is true or not. When I was religious, I saw videos by atheists like Aaron Ra, who I don't even think is a Satanist. I had a hard time hearing what he had to say because I couldn't get past the fact that he looked like everything that I had been warned against as a Christian.
I mean, it's not our fault that you judge people based on your appearance. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Crazy thought, I know. Maybe the fact that you've learned that Satanists aren't what you thought they are is a little bit of a lesson for you, that you shouldn't judge people based on the way that they look.
Was I wrong in my judgment? Absolutely. But leaving your faith is already hard, and it's easy to feel alone and scared. It can be incredibly powerful when you've been taught that atheism is just a bunch of Satanists who look what particular way, to realize that it's not that and that you were wrong about that stereotype. You start to question other things that you've been told about atheism.
The antithesis, though, is that we've also got a lot of people who come from a very fundamentalist Christian background who say that. So, for example, Stephen Bradford Long, who's a very big, who's got a really great podcast, you should absolutely check it out, says that, you know, he comes from a very fundamentalist Christian background, and he said that pure atheism just felt very empty to him, and he really missed a lot of the elements of religion. What happens with Satanism is that, you know, that void has been filled. Like he really managed to fill something that he was missing when when he left Christianity just for pure atheism. It can actually be more appealing to enter another religious framework, just a lot less toxic version of that.
The demographic of people who identify as non-believers is the fastest growing in America. And if I can make that transition a little bit easier by shattering the stigma surrounding atheists, by normalizing it to the world, by showing that I'm just a normal atheist dude, then that's what I'm gonna do. If other atheists want to go all out over the top, I love y'all and support it 100%. Go for it. And who knows, maybe in a few years I'll be covered in tattoos and piercings, making theatrical political statements, and we'll look back at this video and laugh.
Everyone say it with me now. You don't need to be a goth to be a Satanist. Let's continue.
But when it comes right down to it, I'm just a missionary kid who grew out of my faith. I love science, and
you love
like
science.
people
Well,
recently
did you know
deconverting from their religion.
I'm
not doing it because I hate God, or I'm rebelling, or looking to make a statement. I just want to know what's true. If you found this video helpful and want to see more...
Oh, right. I don't want to be too mean to this guy, but honestly, okay, that drugs reference really fucking pissed me off, because there's no... As an alternative gay man, there's a stereotype that alternative people, tattoos, piercings, funny colored hair, take lots of drugs, and there's a stereotype that gay men take lots of drugs, and I am a gay man who looks alternative, so I always get picked out. I don't know. That touched a special nerve in me. So obviously he has a very superficial understanding. He has a very outsider perspective on what Satanism is. As expected, he saw it all through the prism of the activism and wanting to reach people. You know, the only bit which made me go, yeah, okay. If the goal is to reach as many people as possible, Satanism is a bit of a barrier, but But also the premise of that as a point is that the decision to use Satanism is quite an arbitrary one, and that's absolutely not the case. The fundamental premise is that it's very meaningful to us. We would be a lot more popular if we went with something other than Satanism, but then it would be a completely different thing. It wouldn't be Satanism, and it wouldn't be that meaningful to us, and it wouldn't be our religion. We have some shared goals with atheists, so and I think he's probably a decent guy, so it's just and I suppose how much can you expect someone to really understand something before making a YouTube video about it? So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. See you next time.